Welcome back. I'm playing Warhammer 40,000 Battlesector, and the opponent that I had on the last round of the tournament brought the wrong army, so he contacted me through YouTube and said, hey, I want to have a rematch. I want to use the right army selection here. Would you be willing to do that? And I'm like, sure, of course, because there's nothing worse than bringing the wrong army with you. So we're going to be playing the Sanctum Sacrosanct map again. I'm going to be bringing my same 2,000 points of orcs. He's going to use a different force for his Tyranids. I have no idea what it's going to include, but it is going to be a strategic command objective, 80 points, and 8-turn limit. So we will see if we are able to come out ahead on this one as well, or whether his reselection of a proper force for the map is going to make a big difference here. Because with that other force, we were definitely able to table him pretty hard, so we'll see if we can have effectiveness again. So we're going to have our 2 Weird Boy build. I don't like how they seem to be moving things around here. Now, it did switch our players, so when he created it, it had a different player area here. So I do have a different side of the map than I did before. I think that should actually... I don't know if it'll really come to be one person's advantage over another here. But as you can see here, I've got the 2 Weird Boys, I've got 2 Pain Boys, 2 Death Dreads, 3 Flash Gits, 4 Ludas with the Beamy Def Guns, 2 Burner Boys, and then I believe 2 War Bikes here to kind of help us. Now the big thing that I've learned when I've been playing against a lot of swarm builds with the Tyranids is you want to have at least a couple of Burner Boys for when you end up getting swarmed by their low-tier infantry. Otherwise they can actually tend to overwhelm you, and if they do a heavy gargoyle build, you'll just get totally blind, and then you're not going to be able to attack from range. So you definitely need to make sure that that does not happen to you. Some people like to just move regularly on the first turn with the orcs. I tend to just use that ability on the bikes to get things going as fast as possible. But I think if you were to min-max, especially if you're going to be using them on a map where you're not sure if it's going to make a big difference, if you have a couple extra spots or not, it does sometimes make sense to not use that on the first turn, and then when you have it activated, because it lasts for more than 1 turn, the evasion, I believe, it will, well, that might be not true, but it will increase your evasion further. And that, because it's the smoke screen that lasts a couple of turns, but it'll double up your evasion bonuses and really help you stay alive here. Now the one thing that's kind of pain in the ass with this map here, especially at the start, is there's all these narrow archways. So as you can see, it's kind of throwing my Def Dreads off, because they got to stay in cohesion here to have the increased movement and the increased number of shots. Just trying to debate about how I want to do this, but I still think with all the stuff in the way that it makes sense to just keep moving them at the maximum amount, and I'm trying to get these guys going. Kind of same thing here. But we can move him up to now capture a point. And the big thing with the orcs is you want to keep them kind of blobbed together. That way you can stack your buffs. So with the Pain Boys, as long as I have somebody within 2 squares, every unit in the squad will get bonus health. As soon as I move outside of that range, though, I'll no longer get that bonus. So you need to keep that into consideration. But if you're going to be moving into like Overwatch or other situations where you know you're going to be taking damage, you know, just have the Pain Boy there, and then you have that 20% bonus health, or 10, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I think they've changed it a couple of times here. So he looks like he's doing a Hive Tyrant build. He's attacking me at range. And then his range attack has the poison, not the acid. So how it works is poison affects infantry and acid affects vehicles. So it doesn't affect any of that poison onto my vehicle here. So actually he's doing a dual Hive Tyrant build. I'm guessing that other one is probably going to be his HQ commander then, unless he's doing a heavy HQ build again. Yes, he's got some gargoyles over here, so I'm not sure what kind of build he's doing yet. If he's gonna do like a real heavy flyer build here, or what's going on. Now the big thing, again, not only having our guys grouped together to get the Pain Boy buffs, but you want to be stacking some of these other buffs too, especially with your Weird Boys, and this is why I always like to bring a couple of them, so that way I can buff everybody together. And so what I use is that Warpath ability, and what that does is it increases the damage by 15% and then gives everybody a 2-turn damage reduction by 10% and that damage increase. So that can be huge. And then especially on these war bikes that already have a lot of evasion to start with, you know, I have now 2 turns of their evasion to be working with. I'm going to move you behind cover so you stay alive here. I don't know. Do I want to try to shoot into these guys? I kind of do, actually. It's probably not going to do a whole lot, but I would rather at least kill a couple of models here. Because what I don't want is for him to fly into my area here and just start blinding all of my ranged infantry, which can certainly happen. So it's like now I have bonus health, damage reduction, extra damage. I'm keeping these guys together, therefore I now have Mob Rules ability, which gives me additional momentum gains. So these are the empowers, and then if you have things like the big mech or anything else over here, then you could start stacking up those ranged damage protections from his custom force field. And then if you're doing a melee build, then you use the War Boss, and that'll increase your melee damage, so you can really just get some crazy stacks going. But it really, as you saw in some of my prior matches, you just got to be very, very careful you don't get yourself into a situation where you get sprayed by those Tyrannifexes, because the knobs just feed the Tyranids crazy amounts of momentum. And it's like, I think I can move these guys up far enough here to blind him. And it's not so much the blindness that I want to do there to lower his accuracy. I mean, certainly that helps. But more importantly, I want to lower his evasion so I can really start shooting him and getting some kills here. And again, I want to get that Pain Boy over here so he gets the Warpath ability as well. And now everybody's buffed up. I now have a 69% chance to hit here. I'm doing 130 damage, so that's excellent. Unfortunately, my poor Ludas have very little movement, so I can't quite get them into range here. So I had to decide, like, how do I want to position these guys? Do I want to do an Overwatch in case he tries to charge me with the Hive Tyrant? I think I'm just going to end up going for some shots here just to see what happens, because I'm just assuming everybody's going to get blind now, given how close I'm having to get. I'm going to start moving the Death Dreads up too, because I'm not sure quite how good they're going to be at damaging the Hive Tyrant. And then the other thing that's sometimes tough is that these weird angles with the stairs, sometimes you don't get a zone of control there, so I don't really want to expose this guy way out there, get him shot up if he has, you know, the Hive Guard with the shockwave cannon. So I'm like, well, 1 to 2 times 48, so that's, you know, 48 to, what would that be, 96 damage minus 30%, so I'm like hoping to do 50 damage, and unfortunately I only do like 37, so I was pretty disappointed with that, I'm not gonna lie. So it's like, alright, well, am I gonna commit to this? What do I want to do? I mean, I've almost got him down to half health, and then those guys are so expensive that if I can just get the kill, that's, you know, 10% of his forces to start with. So it's like, let's try to shoot again. And then here, you know, I'm getting like 60 damage. So I'm like, man, I just got some bad rolls, I guess, because I was expecting, like I said, 50 per to really start weakening this guy down. So it's like, all right, how do I want to do this? It's like I got to keep these guys into cohesion because I don't want to just leave them out exposed. Otherwise, they're going to get shot up. So it's like, I'm going to just kind of pull you guys back and hopefully use some of this cover. And I'm assuming he's just going to fly in here with his gargoyles and start poisoning me. And he might actually come in and try to snipe my Pain Boy as well. So I'm just like, well, if he's going to come and kill you, I guess I'm going to pull you back here. And then hopefully my Death Dreads can get in there and start attacking him. And then he's like, he's got this other one here. So it's like, alright, I got a 50% chance to hit. Let's just go ahead and try. I could move closer to try to get better. Oh, I guess I moved too far. I thought I would moved 1 block away and I pulled back, but I guess that's not correct. So it's like, well, let's just start shooting this guy down as much as possible. I'm pulling him back. And then I have the situation with the flash gets here, it's like I could move him up, but chances are he has a whole bunch of Tyranids just outside of my vision here that are going to be attacking me. So I'm like, let's just keep you here. Let's put you behind cover. We'll have you guys flame. Maybe I can bait him into charging my Burnaboys, in which case then the rest of my guys can shoot him down. But I'm not quite sure how aggressive he's going to be here. And so he's trying to kill my Warbike, and he misses because of those evasions. So then he puts one of those poison stacks on my Burnaboys there. He's blinding the flash gets, which is what we'd expect. And then he's probably going to come here, yep, and blind the Ludus. And now those 2 units are now going to be half worthless for the next 2 turns. He's actually pulling the High Tyrant over here, which is good for me. He's like, I'm just going to come over here and start killing this Warbike, so that way he can capture the point. And he's going to put the poison on my Burnaboys, but again, if you're not familiar with how this works, what poison does is not only does it do damage, but it lowers the accuracy of your ranged units. But flamers in this game almost have 100% hit accuracy unless you get a grazing hit. So the poison and the accuracy has no effect on flaming attacks, and it just doesn't have enough damage output that you're going to be able to get cut through a lot of that Burnaboy health. So really you should be using those poisons on Ludas and Flash Gets to really mess up my units, because now I have these major forces here that I can just come and totally mess up, and he's exposed. So it's like, alright. And then with the Thornback, what he did is he'd use that charging attack, but unfortunately he had an exceptionally poor roll, and so it actually missed the charge attack, but that should have done like 90 to 100 some damage, and that should have allowed him to kill my Warbike easily. But because he missed the attack, he then wasted his turn there. And again, even though those guys are blind, I can still get a full attack on them because it doesn't really matter. So it's like, alright, well, do I want to focus on killing the Thornback here, try to go after the Gargoyles? I'm just worried that they're going to keep poisoning me, so it's like, let's just try to get the kill here and not worry about it. And then it's like, alright, I'm probably going to have some issues here. So it's like, we know he's used the charge attack here as a Thornback, so it's like, well, maybe I can just move you guys around here. It looks like that's going to put you in a perfect area to get some hits, so 74%. So we'll just shoot into here, and that did great damage for me. And then I'm going to just bring the Pain Boy over here too, and then that can also give some bonus health to our Warbike to try to keep him alive as long as possible. Now, I'm going to just move you up here and then use the Headbanger to do some additional damage, so that'll make it a little bit easier to kill the Thornback the following turn here. And now everybody's got bonus health, so that's good. And then it's like, oh yeah, I can probably heal some of these guys too because they took some damage. But I'm not sure if it's worth risking the extra damage that I've done. And now the thing to know about that, if you have a flying unit and you move them behind that cover there, that is full cover behind that. I don't know what you would call it, like a pavilion. And I got a good roll on the heal there, so it went through. So that worked out well. But now I've got this issue where it's like, alright, I've got lots of units that can do things for me, but they're also blind. So what do I want to do here? It's like I was going back and forth. Do I want to use the Pain Boy to do a melee attack there? And I decided not to. And it's like, if I come up here, I can shoot at 75 here. I've got 65 there. But it's like, they're just kind of in the way, so I'm just trying to decide, how do I want to position these guys to get the maximum amount? Because really, I should be doing some pretty significant damage to these guys, especially with the splash. So it's like, even missing a bunch of those attacks, I was almost able to wipe a whole squad of warriors, which is definitely something I want to do, because I don't want them getting into melee range, because they can chop through my dreads and my knobs without much difficulty. Plus they're going to give a bunch of synapse bonuses to his other units, and that will allow him to start getting bonus attacks and doing all sorts of nightmare stuff to me in the setting of his momentum gains, and then he'll start stacking up his damage and doing multiple attacks after his natural hunter. So it's like I can't have that happen. I just need to have him get killed as fast as possible. So it's like, well, maybe what I can do is bring these guys over here. It looks like they still have a pretty decent chance to hit. So maybe I can start poking down some of these warriors over here. Now, even with those big squares, it's only 39%. And they spread their damage out there, so I couldn't get a single model kill, which is always a little bit of a bummer. But it was not terrible damage. And again, it's like I can move you up here, but I don't know if that's going to lock down those warriors or not. It's like if I move you up here, I can start shooting into the Thornback, but he's going to shoot back. It's like I could try to run you forward, but I suspect he's going to have a bunch of Tyranids over here. So what I'll do is it's like, well, maybe we do this, and this will allow me to scout and possibly capture the point. And as expected, he's got a ton of units over here. It's like you can have up to 4 warriors, so I'm like, I'm not seeing the warriors yet, so something must be up here. So it's like, okay, well, we'll capture that. We'll come here, try not to leave our back exposed. But now that I know he's got all these guys here, it's like, well, maybe I should start collapsing towards the center. Otherwise, those dang exocrines are just going to be sitting back here and lobbing their attacks into me. And I was like, well, maybe what I can do is just keep these guys back a little bit and make them have to come forward to get vision on me for everybody else to shoot. So I'm like, let's just do that, and then we'll just set up a bunch of overwatches here to try to punish him. And it's like, well, maybe I just start pulling these guys all back here, because there's no way I'm going to be able to win on this right side. And especially if he starts blinding me and charging in here with his Hive Tyrant, he should be able to kill all these forces, because once he starts, he should be able to do his full squad wipe with 2 physical attacks, especially if he does rear attacks on my units. And then that's going to be a lot of points there. So it's like, let's just come to collapse towards the center here and try to keep these guys alive, and then hopefully I can set up some shots into him, because I should be able to totally hold this left side, and in the next turn or two I should be able to take over the center, and then that'll be a 3-2 in my favor. It's like, well, just go ahead and attempt to shoot into the thorn back here. And you do okay damage. And it's like, well, alright, so we got these stupid gargoyles just kind of stuck back here. I don't want to have my dreads in a situation where they can get attacked by the Thornback. And now that I know he's got exocrines, I don't really want to leave these guys out in the open, because they're just going to get sniped by the exocrines. Now, the exocrines aren't great at anti-armor units, but again, multiple attacks, they can definitely stack up over time. So it's like we'll just shift them over this way. And unfortunately, I can't move at an angle here, because I was hoping I was going to be able to move the Pain Boy forward a little bit and then give that bonus health to both of the Death Dreads, but that doesn't appear to be the case. So it's like we'll just do a charge attack with you and kill a couple of models per attack, assuming you land your attack, which you did not.
Death Dreads. Orcs is the best, and us flash kids are the best orcs.
Because the big thing with those exocrines is they have that charged up attack that allows them to pretty much one-shot, or almost one-shot, my Ludas or my Knobs when they're not getting HP buffs. So it's like I definitely want to pull these guys back so he just doesn't destroy my units, because I need them to be alive to take out that other Hive Tyrant that's over here and to focus down the exocrines. So as you can see, I'm taking the poison damage here, getting some damage dealt to me. A little bit unclear why I took 40 points of damage on that one unit, whereas everybody else was getting 20 points. That was kind of weird. But he was able to get the kill with that, with his exocrine, so then he moved in to attack with the warriors, and then thankfully he that will explode and then cause explosion damage to the warriors because they don't have enough armor to tank that. So that'll definitely work out in our advantage. And then, as hoping, he's charging forward with the warriors, allowing me to get some shots into them. So we've now killed one of the models. Now, ideally what he should have done here is use one of those exocrines and use the surge ability, and then use the warrior to attack, because I would have allowed him to finish off some kills here. So see, those guys are there, so not only would he have been able to totally squad wipe those Ludas, but they would have had a follow-up attack as well. So, just a little bit of suboptimal choices there. He's trying to move that thorn back into range, but they're just too far away, and then the gargoyles can't do anti-armor damage. As you can see, the Thornback's doing pretty decent damage against the bike there, but it's just sitting there blocking the pathway as it should be. And he's starting to bring over the Hive Tyrant. And this is how he could have really messed me up, is when you stay up here, it's really hard for me to get counter shots, and you can use that big area to really do hit and run attacks once you capture that whole right side. But it looked like he left his Hive Tyrant up there, and therefore that now he's kind of in the open. Now I'll have difficulty shooting him for sure, but he's still in the open, so hopefully with all my ranged units I can start landing some attacks into him. But really what you want to be doing is doing hit and run attacks so you stay in cover, and then you can just use that poison to really weaken down my forces, because the orcs do not have a way. Their heal does not cancel out poison effects.
If we have to, we'll move.
So it's like we can see these guys starting to move over on me. I still have another turn until my
Ready to saw bones.
Warpath comes back on. It's like I got 68%, so I'm hoping that we're going to kill at least a couple of models here. And we do. So it's like we'll just bring you up to here, and we could keep the war bike back. I suppose I could also just attack with this guy, but I'm like trying to figure out how I want to do this, because now he's starting to get danger close. I would really like to take out this Hive Tyrant, because what I don't want is for him to be able to launch a bunch of attacks onto me. So it's like, how can I position these guys to try to optimize their attacks? And it's tiny little circles everywhere in here, it looks like. So it's like, well, let's see here. I've got Headbanger. I've got my tier 1 ability up. Unfortunately, it looks like my guys are still poisoned. The flame is not going to be able to do anything here. So it's like, do I use my tier 1 ability to get a bunch of extra shots or not? So I'm just kind of looking at the area to see, well, I can probably get all these guys into range, including my flash gets here. My blind is back up, but I think I'm too far away to be able to use it on anybody else. So I'm just trying to decide what I want to do here. I'm a little worried that he's going to take those gargoyles and fly them around to capture that point behind me, and I'm going to have trouble getting over there. So it's like, let's just try to kill the Hive Tyrant here, because if I can, that'll definitely really help solidify my chances of winning, because I'm very worried that he's going to just be doing hit and run stuff on me and start charging my units, in which case I'm going to die. So it's like, we'll come here, move you there. I could kind of get some shots in here onto that unit if I need to. We can't quite get good shots on from here. So I'm just trying to figure out where I want to be. Looks like I can get better range if I come over here. So we'll shoot this way. Maybe it's a little better here. So we have a 50% chance. these guys can be shooting as well. It's like I can move you up here. So it's like, let's just do that, because I'd really like to try to get a kill. Unfortunately, it's going to break the synergy. But whatever we can do... That's a tiny little circle. That's a little bit of a bigger circle. That's the best, so it's like, alright, let's just pull you back then. And try to get some shots. Alright, it's 40, so not terrible. You're still here. So it's like, alright, try to get some better attacks here. It's like you're down to 73.
I think I can stitch that back.
You're over here. It's like, okay, you have a 22% chance to hit. I could potentially do Headbanger. And it looks like that's going to hit. So he's got 9 health. So I'm like, oh man, I'm so close.
If we have to, we'll move.
It's like, let's just get over here and keep killing those gargoyles, because I assume he's going to try to pull away. And if he does, he's going to be able to capture that point behind me.
Something's a burn.
I'm going to bring you here to body block this point there, because he shouldn't be able to capture it back now. I am worried. Let's just shoot into here. He's down. So now he shouldn't have any commander units to be dropping spores or strafing runs with the poison, because all those things are very good against the orcs. I'm going to start bringing the weird boy up that way to hopefully allow us to kill those gargoyles and capture the point back, assuming he's going to try to back cap it on me. So we're taking some poison damage again. We're pulling ahead in the points. He's using his exocrines. Doing some damage there. He's got his other exocrine here. So he used the special splash ability there, which is why he got to take all that damage. Now he used the Thornback to charge into the Burnaboys, but that's really quite bizarre, because he could have just charged into those flash gits and done a full squad wipe here. And he's trying to bring those gargoyles over here, hoping that he can back cap here. I mean, he must have not been able to land the attack, but he should have been able to wipe out those Burnaboys on that other side too. So it's like, okay, well, this was not what I was expecting him to do. So it's like, let's just bring you guys over this way. We'll start buffing you up. You can flame here and just totally wipe out those gargoyles. We've now killed them. I'm just trying to decide, like, where can I put these guys to actually do some damage? It's like, yeah, got a 41% chance to hit here, so you should be able to kill the Thornback here, as long as you get decent rolls. And so he's down. And now you've surged. So it's like, we'll pull you back this way. And we're just going to surge here, because I don't want him to be spamming that poison ability on me. And I also don't want him to be trying to back cap things. So it's like we're going to start bringing the orc swarm this way. We're going to bring you up here because I want to try to save these flash gits for sure. And I get the heal off. So it's like we've got the exocrines down here. We've got some warriors. And I think that's all he has left for his forces here. So it's like, what do I want to do here? I can run you forward and try to flame guys down, but I'm not sure if that's going to work or not. I can bring the flash gits over here, because I'd like to take out those warriors. If I could.
Moving our substantial riches out. Well, if we have to,
Got the Ludas over here yet. Oh. Triggered the Overwatch. I do have the Warpath ability here.
What now?
And I'm going to bring you over this way. And I'll bring you up to here. And it's like, let's buff everybody. I could bring you up this way too. That'll get you a little extra movement and attack. Because with the gargoyles being down, that really should stop him from being able to attack me here. So let's get you over. Put this up. And then we can put blind on somebody if I have to.
What's not on fire?
Let's move you up one, and you can just flame here and do a little bit of damage. And then the flash gets... I guess we'll just put you there and shoot into here. Now the warriors are down. So we're just trying to focus down these dang exocrines. So it's like I'm just going to put the blind down to try to increase my hit chance. Got a 60% chance to shoot there. So it's like, might as well just try it. Get some more heals, and now the flash gits are almost back to full health. Which are going to be my major damage dealers against his exocrines. And it's like, well, let's just have you guys start shooting into the exocrines and getting some kills then.
Lures have the best shooters. Moving our substantial riches out.
And then it's like, well, are you going to have enough to easily get some kills here? And I think the answer is going to be yes, so it's like we just shoot into there, and he's taken out. And I have you to start focusing down that exocrine.
Ready to saw bones.
And we've taken the lead now with both points, army, and... Oh yeah, I forgot about those warriors there. Oh, and he doesn't have Death Splitters on there either. And unfortunately, because he only killed one model, he didn't get to trigger his, natural killer ability. So they just one-shotted down the exocrines there. Keep moving you guys down. But I think with killing these guys, this should allow me to table his forces. So we'll bring the Death Dreads down. Because they should pretty much be able to squad wipe these guys. And I do. And that tables the opponent, so that allows us to get a victory here. So definitely worked out for our advantage here. We were able to claim the victory. Was slightly, I think, in our advantage here with us being player one, since we have the elevated positions here with all of our ranged units. But from these several matches, I think my opponent has a little difficulty with the gargoyles, kind of knowing how to use them. So again, especially against the orcs, the big things that are going to hurt you the most are going to be my Ludas and most importantly the flash gits. So when you're doing a gargoyle build, unless you're using them to just capture points, you want to have them put the poison on the Ludas or the Flash Gits, not the Burna Boys. And you want to try to keep your gargoyles away from the Burna Boys because they can squad wipe those gargoyles, and that mobility is definitely a huge advantage that you have over me. Because if you bring several gargoyles and you just start spamming that poison on all of my ranged units, then I'm going to have a lot of trouble killing you. And on this, you know, the other side of the map up by that pavilion there, if you would have charged through with your Hive Tyrant, you would have easily killed both my Flash Gits and the Ludas. I would recommend that you focus first on killing the Flash Gits because they'll have the most damage at closer range, and then the Ludas only have 3 movements, so they're going to have trouble closing enough getting enough distance away from you to be able to really escape, and therefore their accuracy is not going to be very good. But you could have totally killed every unit I had on that left side of the map and then just came in and started killing me in the center by popping up on that ledge and then popping back behind it, and I wouldn't have been able to return fire, and you could have just kept stacking those poison abilities from that ranged weapon onto my orcs, allowing you to get significant damage and killing them every turn. Or you could have just ran in there and started doing some melee attacks and then ran back if you had enough movement. So by leaving them up on the ledge, it just left you to being exposed for allowing me to shoot those guys down. You clearly like to use the Hive Tyrants, and they're a good unit, but they're very expensive. So you really need to focus on keeping them alive, and you know, using them to run to capture points is not a good use of them because they're very easy to snipe because they are flying units. Now, you did a good job keeping them behind the pavilion because I was for full cover, so I couldn't return fire when you were there. However, by keeping them out in the open, again, I was just able to easily snipe them down because you weren't poisoning my ranged units enough, so I had good accuracy. The Exocrines is a reasonable choice on this map. There's several open areas. The big thing is with the Pain Boy, if they're getting the HP buffs, it's going to take more than one of those charged attacks to do a squad wipe. And as you saw, it still took over a squad wipe or a single attack to wipe out the Ludas, depending on your damage roll. So having those Tyranid warriors then come in to mop up those weakened units, because they'll get lots of different model kills, that'll trigger the natural killer. And then with the warriors, I think you always should give them the Death Splitters because their default weapon just doesn't do enough damage, whereas the Death Splitters gives you a little bonus damage, which will then allow you to do some mild to moderate damage against armor as well, whereas the regular attacks just can't quite do it for you here. Certainly the Exocrines can be used in melee like you were doing there, but the big thing is you want to keep them as a ranged unit to be shooting into the units. Obviously the units, that's kind of a stupid thing to say. Shooting them into infantry when they have the charge attack, or they can do some okay damage against armor at range. So that was kind of your main unit to do damage to the Death Dread, unless you were going to use somebody to fight me in melee like the Thornback. But with the 2 Death Dreads together, unless you have multiple Thornbacks and you're getting rear attacks, the Death Dreads are probably going to win that melee battle because they are just very, very good, especially if they're next to each other and they get those synergy and increased damage buffs, especially when it's stacked up on top of the Warpath abilities. It just quickly makes them to be these amazing units here. And again, this is my main frustration with the Tyranids, is they just don't have a great, well, they have a really good anti-vehicle unit, but it's the Hive Guards. They're super expensive, they don't have super long range, and they're really easy to snipe. And then to give them the Shockwave Cannon, I think it costs them like well over 180 points or something like that, so they're just really hard to bring out. So I almost wish like the warriors also had like an anti-armor build or something that would allow you to, they just feel like they need some sort of better anti-armor. Or what I'd really like, and what I've said for a while, is I wish the Exocrines had not only a charged up attack to be an anti-infantry, but then if they also had a second attack that would allow them to be like an anti-vehicle that could do some extra damage, and then you could alternate those attacks every couple of turns. I think that would make them a much more useful unit, and then you just increase their cost a little bit. I think that would really help out the Tyranids, because I really feel that that lack of armor really hurts them, because really their main anti-armor is meant to be in melee, but they get countered so hard as they all have low HP, and if you bring a couple of flamer units, you can just kill them all before they close the distance. And then again on the right side there, you know, focusing on getting the poison on the Flash Gitz Ludas. I think it's reasonable to have done the charge attack to try to kill that war bike. If it would have landed on the attack, it probably would have killed the war bike, and then you would have been able to start getting past there and getting the kills. I really wish that ability wouldn't fail the charge attack, because then you just feel like you wasted your turn, and that's really one of the things that makes you want to bring them, is for all that kind of ability and getting that charge off. So I've always felt that that charge should be an auto hit if you're using a special ability for it. Now, not every charge attack should obviously hit, but when you have a special ability, I do think it should be an auto hit, because you're using a special ability with a cooldown. You can't spam it. And then if you fail it, then all of a sudden you just feel terrible. You're like, oh, I should have just ran over there and attacked, because his attack, he has 3 different ones, so even with the evasion, he would have landed at least 2 out of 3 attacks, if not all 3, even with the evasion. So I think that definitely felt bad for my opponent, and it probably got him tilted, because I would have been very tilted, and that's when I start to get pretty aggro as well. And then the other thing is with the gargoyles in the center there, you could, if you, assuming you didn't get suppressed, if you tried to move away, you could have back capped that other point, and it would have taken me at least 1 to 2 turns to get up there to capture it back for you. So that would have given you a couple extra points as well. And then you tried to pull the gargoyles up onto that railing. I think that's reasonable. They just weren't quite far enough, so I was able to shoot them down. But that can be a real nightmare on this map when you have units that either have the hover or flying trait, is they can get up on that ledge, and then you can't attack them if you don't have hover or flying units to go after them. And they can just keep spamming attacks on you and just be an absolute pain in the ass to kill. So I hope that gives you some feedback on the matchup here. That was just some things I noticed from our multiple matches with the Orcs versus Tyranid builds that you were doing here. Like I said, overall it's not a bad build. It's just some different force selections, and then with the Death Dreads being buffed so substantially, they're just amazing ranged units now with that splash, and it really allows them to do tons of damage, and that just allows you to cut through the Tyranids without much difficulty here. So definitely makes it a hard matchup. They're really good against the Tau and things now too. I mean, they were always good at range, but with the splash damage being added, they're just so much better than they used to be. And they were always good, so I don't know if they necessarily really needed a buff, but they got one, so might as well use it. So thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying these videos. If you are, please give my channel a like and subscribe to encourage me to post more content for you. And I think it'll now finally be time for the next matchups to start showing off some Imperial Guard. So I know you guys have been waiting with a bated breath to see what that's all about. So I wanted to upload this video because you wanted that rematch at the end of the tournament, but time for some Imperial Guard. Take it easy, guys.